1935, the Lions win the NFL championship. The Detroit Tigers take the World Series. The Red Wings bring home Lord Stanley's Cup. Joe Louis begins his rise to world domination. This transforms the Motor City into Detroit, City of Champions.
All right. One more time. Anchors away. It's Detroit City of Champions, the podcast. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
Charles Avison.
And we are swimming around in the story of Garwood and all the stories from 1935. Lions, Tigers, Red Wings, Walter Hagen.
We're getting to Walter Hagen next. That's
Sukar,
the next episode, yeah. We got one more episode.
Joe Louis.
Yeah, oh yeah, we've been doing it. Yeah, man.
And
we've been the cool thing about the City of Champions story. I mean, one of the things.
Yeah.
I like to say because there's
so many great things.
But the thing about it is, this is a tour through every sport. It's
right.
a tour through literally every sport. Like we've been through the history of hockey, the history, like we didn't really do too much of the history of baseball, I guess.
Yeah.
History of football,
right.
History of hockey, history of speedboat racing, for God's sake, the history of boxing.
Yeah.
Next week, we're about to get into the history of golf with Walter Hagen. I mean, we're talking about literally golf. Walter Hagen was professional golf.
Yeah.
He is the birth of professional golf personified. And what's crazy is all of these subjects are Detroit. They all infuse into the City of Champions season. It's crazy. Like wait till we go all the way through to the end when we've got like literally everybody be talking about fencing, diving, swimming. We're talking about everything.
Yeah. I'm a little sad though. You said that, and I'm like, I was going to say exactly that in about 30 seconds. A little sad because I've enjoyed Garwood's story.
Garwood's amazing.
So much.
I remember at the beginning of this, I'm like, I'm so excited to talk about Garwood because his story is my favorite story of them all. The story has been, it's not to diminish the other ones because there's some great stories.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you like, the Garwood story is just so incredible. And we're the only ones that are telling it.
Yeah.
We're the only ones. Search YouTube and find anybody else that's doing any kind of an in-depth look at the history of Garwood.
No.
There's nothing out there. I mean, there's a ton. What's interesting though is there's a ton of great little videos. There's probably more video content for Garwood as far as like his boats. Like, I mean, they've got every boat all the way back to the first Miss America.
Yeah. I
mean, I watched the 1933, the Harmsworth race 1933 clip today. They got some great little clips on there on Garwood and the boats and stuff. So even though there's not really any, full on stories of it, there's some great little clips, but we're the only ones out there telling the story. And it's a phenomenal story, as anybody that's been following along, can hopefully agrees with us,
know? So I'm just a little sad, but I'm excited.
But we've done justice
chapter.
to him.
I think so, very much.
I think we've totally done justice to the Garwood section. We've taken our time. We've gone through it, and I like I say, that was one of the things I wanted to make sure we did justice to this story because it's so underreported. When I first started the City of Champions project, I started with the Tigers, Lions, Red Wings. I knew nothing about Joe Louis. I knew nothing about his even contributions in this 1935 season. And I certainly didn't know about Garwood.
Right.
I had no idea. Even when I wrote the first book, that's when I first started getting little glimpses of how big he was. But when you really start to, when I did the players, the second two books, and I started diving into the stories of who Garwood was and just how big he was, it was like, oh my God, this guy is absolutely monumental.
And the races attended were arguably the largest gathering of people for a sporting event in history.
We could make a case. We already did make a case. We could actually go to the Guinness Book of World Records or any major case and literally put down a case that says
fun. That might be fun to do.
Yeah, we could. We could make a case that this was that
Detroit should own that.
That this is one of, if not the largest sporting events in the history of the world. I mean, you could make that case. We already did. We made a rudimentary case.
Yep.
But what else? You mean year after year they're like the largest, 500,000, 600,000, whatever. There's boats filling up the race courses. It's just. It's just so many people for this thing. So, in its day, it was just the biggest thing out. So,
The last episode we went on for like an hour and 10 minutes, and so I cut it into 2.
That's probably why. It's probably a good idea. Yeah,
I got that last one into 2. We'll see how today flows out. Do you got it mapped out for 1 or 2 episodes?
I think we're good with 1.
Okay.
I think we're good with 1. We'll see. I mean,
fair enough.
We can just break it up again.
How long we meander on this one?
we can break it up if we have to.
I like that we've done that because we did 15 episodes on Garwood. I think we did 10 on the Tigers.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
We're kind of getting we're figuring it out. We're figuring it out as we go.
When we first started doing it, that's what I'm saying. We were just catching we were just getting our feet going.
How deep do we go? And
yeah. I mean, we were covering an entire season in like a day.
Yeah.
With the World Series, we covered like an entire World Series in a day.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to the Tigers.
Oh, sure,
because
there's more to tell.
Totally. And what's kind of cool is that we can actually, when we go to the Tigers, we can do a little bit more into the history of baseball and Detroit's role in the history of the game. That would be really fun.
And there's a big thing right now in Hamtramck in reviving the stadium where the Negro baseball.
I know
League
the guys
plays.
that run it. Yeah, those same guys that did the Tiger Stadium. They were the Navin Fields ground crew over at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah. It's cool. The little pieces of history they're preserving over there. It's very, very cool.
Yeah. No, they're doing a great job over there too, from all the pictures I've seen.
All right. So where did we? The last time was the Madmen, right? It was.
We talk about the Madman's Dream, that which is the nickname for the boat. It's kind of cool because the Madman's Dream, but it was also it's the nickname for the Miss America 10, but at the same time, it's a total reference to Gar Wood himself because he's the madman and this is his dream. This is and they had it and anybody I watched it today. If you go and look up, because we're gonna be talking about the Garwood's last Harmsworth race, which was 1933, and if anybody wants to see that Miss America 10 in incredible action, if you just do a YouTube search for 1933 Harmsworth race, it's like a 3 to 5 minute video. I forgot what it is, somewhere around there. And it's just one of the most amazing videos. It's got the Miss America 10 in full glory, dude, going around Lake St. Clair. Just they show it. It is such a beast. It's got the engine roar. Yeah. I mean, this thing, it's a great video. I think there's like 100 people that have watched it or something. Right. It's such a sweet video, man.
We'll have to link it. Send me that link. We'll link it in the notes, the show notes.
Yeah. So where we left off
to find it.
Yeah. So where we left off, we talked about how, leading up. So the 1931, remember the 31 and 32, the Harmsworth races, those were, we had the whole sort of story with like Seagrave, where Seagrave was this national hero to England. He died at the moment of setting the world record for speed on water. And then it just totally galvanized the British public. It galvanized Lord Wakefield. It galvanized Rolls-Royce. It galvanized the British Admiralty. Like everybody, like, we are going to win this Harmsworth for Seagrave. So it was like a national effort by Britain. And at the time they owned the Schneider Cup, which was basically like the Harmsworth Trophy for the air, for the best plane. And then Seagrave had the world record for speed on land. So the British were masters of of land and air. And all they needed was the Harmsworth for land, sea, and air. So they would need it for it to be superior in everything.
I don't think so.
And so all of it, there was just this massive effort to try to win this. And so 31 and 32, they lose both of them. Right. In this Miss America, 31, they called it the Yankee trick, with Garwood kind of got Kadon disqualified and that. And then 32, he just had this ridiculous Miss America 10 boat, which planed at the last second through like a miracle. And then, they went through 12 days of hell to get it patched up and rebuilt and tear, as Garwood does. And so anyways, and then they went on, of course, to win the 32 Harmsworth. And so what I'm trying to get at here is that the effect of Garwood winning the 32 Harmsworth had basically like the polar opposite effect is the death of Seagrave. So whereas like the entire everybody in Britain was galvanized after Seagrave's death.
This is it. We're doing it.
But after the 32 Harmsworth, it was reversed and everybody was just done.
Right.
They were just like, we're done. Like Garwood is never going to be beaten. Like, did you see the boat he just built? Did you see the boat he just built? That's what I was like saying. Go to this video.
As a matter of fact, we did.
Like, anybody see this?
We were trying to climb in it and they were stopping us.
Yeah. This boat, they're like, did anybody see this boat that they just built? They're like, Garwood is not coming off of this trophy, and we're just embarrassing ourselves by trying to win this. And so in essence, it just completely, it just demoralized them.
Right.
I mean, total and utter demoralization, because all of them backed out. They all backed out. So Lord Wakefield.
But then, again, the problem of competition.
So Garwood, that's what I'm saying. Garwood, he was all excited because he's like, now I got some competition. I'm just going to destroy them now. So he just he demoralized his opponents, and so Wakefield ceases to have anything to do with the races. He's totally done. And then Rolls-Royce, they are totally done.
Right.
They don't even want their engines to be used in the races because for the fear of that it's like making their company look bad that they keep losing to Packard in America. So they won't even let anybody use their engines anymore for racing. And so in K-Don, of course, K-Don, he's the driver.
Yeah.
And K-Don is his peak of fame was 31-32, and he's like the center, the driver of driving these boats and that. And then K-Don's basically done too. Like his fame just starts to disappear. He's the guy that lost to Garwood, and his moment in the sun was sort of eclipsed. So it's done. So Garwood, of course, is wins this is 32 Harmsworth, his 8th consecutive Harmsworth without a defeat. It's 8th consecutive. So it kind of takes us up into the following year, 1933, the 1933 Harmsworth, as I sort of alluded to with with the video. So Garwood, so it leads us into 33, and it's an incredible irony. Okay, it's this incredible irony because the guy who would challenge Garwood in 1933, his name was Hubert Scott Payne. Okay, and the irony is that if Hubert Scott Payne would have had the support of Rolls-Royce and even Lord Wakefield, that Lord Wakefield wasn't as important as Rolls-Royce, but if he would have had support of Rolls-Royce, right, to get these these awesome engines,
might have been able to do it.
This was the best competition Garwood had of all the races, and he was underfunded. He was utilized, and this guy's something else. And
bring the pain,
yeah. And so anyways, just a brief sort of aside about Hubert Scott Payne. Yeah. This is the guy that built the Miss England 1 that Seagrave was driving and setting records. Reinvigorate. Okay. That's the boat that beat Garwood. In the Venice Regatta in 1929. All so Miss England 1 is the boat that so Hubert Scott Payne built this. And like, I didn't really dive too deep into him when I was writing these books, but today I just kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit with him. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, this guy, we're not going to really get too into him today, but anybody that, like this, he's one of these people that deserves his own episode. Somebody like down the road, maybe we can talk about him or something, but Hubert Scott Payne is just like, he's fascinating, man. Like this guy was like an engineering genius. And this, again, he built the Miss England 1, but even before that, if anybody's familiar with the name, with the Supermarine, the company called Supermarine. Okay. They're the ones that the most famous thing they're known for is building the Supermarine Spitfire, which was like one of the planes that, won the Battle of Britain in World War II. The Spitfire is a legendary aircraft. And so anyways, he founded Supermarine. Okay. He founded it. All right. Like he had sold it by the time that they developed the Spitfire, but he was involved with all kinds of stuff with them that are in development. He had his hands in everything. Yeah. This is the guy, if you're familiar with the PT boat that they used in World War II, the most famous thing was John F. Kennedy in his PT boat. Right. He designed and built that with his company over in England. That was an English design. The Americans were buying those from them. And so he designed those PT boats. This guy, he was building,
and then they were putting Packard engines in them.
It must have been, yeah. But it was his design that built those boats. And so, maybe the Americans might have mass produced them or whatever, but it was his original design. Yeah. And so, anyways, there's a ton of stuff with this guy, man. I mean, there's just so many different things. And he like one of the planes he built and that Supermarine built. Won the 1922 Schneider Air Race, championship. So like this guy, I mean, he was building all these aircraft that were like, the kind of with the pontoons on the aircraft that lands in the water. Yeah. He was building these things. Those are things he was building in the 1920s and that. I mean, this guy is a major player in the world of engineering and boats and aircraft and cars and all. I mean, this guy was a big deal. So that's what I'm saying. I just kind of like saw that today. Like I didn't really dive too much into when I was writing the book. But God, you're just looking at going, man, this guy is, he was a big deal. And that's what's kind of crazy. It shows you when, that this guy, this is a major figure at that time in the world of engineering. And for this guy to basically be shut out from Rolls-Royce, saying, hey, Rolls-Royce, I need an engine sort because I'm going to go challenge Garwood. And they're like, no, we refuse to let you use one of our engines.
Like,
we don't. He's like, thanks a lot, So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how demoralized they were.
Wow.
Was that this engineering genius of his day was denied by Rolls-Royce? They're like, no, as good as you are, you still don't have a chance. Like that's how it was. And so without the ability to use a Rolls-Royce, he had to go back to the old Napier Lions engine, what they were using in like the original, in some of these original boats. So no, it wasn't that. So it was still a good engine, but it wasn't what those Rolls-Royces were.
Yeah, those were monsters.
Yeah, Rolls-Royce with the superchargers and all that on there. The Rolls-Royce things were top of the line. They were better than the Packards. So he had, he's fighting with one arm tied behind his back without those. And so he ended up finding he was a fairly wealthy guy, but he found an even wealthier person to help back him, her name was Lady Fanny Houston. And so the engine that he used was a Napier Lions engine, and it was a 1,375 horsepower. And the boat he was going to race was called the Miss Britain 3. So it was so the 1933 Harmsworth was between the Miss America 10 and the Miss Britain 3. So let's just as a refresher, the Napier Lions engine is 1,375 horsepower. In the reminder, actually, I was going to say is the Miss America 10 6,800 horsepower.
Jeez.
So the Miss America 10 4 engines. Which really was combined to make 2 super engines,
right? Yeah,
right.
Jeez.
6,800 horsepower versus a one single Napier Lions engine of 1,375.
Yeah.
So just on sheer power,
right?
It's not even in the same solar system.
But we got you had this picture of Payne, and there's a drawing. It's almost like a sketch, a drawing. And is that his boat?
That's the boat, the Miss Britain 3.
That looks
much smaller,
fierce.
It looks super fierce. That thing's still around too. That's in the it's in the, I think it's the London Museum of Science, I think.
So that he was winning the engineering.
Yeah, well, so anyways, so the boat was what I was leading up to is that he was dramatically overweight as far as the 6,800. Garwood had 6,800 horsepower. He had 1,375, which at first glance is like
he's
outgunned. No chance.
Yeah,
totally. But the thing about it is that the engine size is really, what's also important is the weight of your boat. So he was going with the idea that he might only have a 1,375 horsepower, but if he lightens his boat up and has a smaller craft, that he could beat Garwood just by the differential.
Sure.
And so in fact,
it's all math,
and
man.
That's why he gave Garwood such a run, was because the Miss America 10, 9 tons.
Jesus.
That boat is 9
It is
tons.
It's gargantuan.
It's gargantuan.
We're sitting in front of that thing.
I know. And when you see it in that race, the 1933 race film, it is it's even bigger. I'm telling you, somehow it looks bigger when it's ripping through the water. It's just so big. So Garwood's got 6,800 horsepower, pushing 9 tons, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So the Miss Britain 3 is only 1.5 tons. So it's a huge difference. Some of the engine size might be huge, but it's a huge differential.
Right.
So when you divide that up, so what that means is each horse. So for the Miss America 10, each horse was pulling 2.6 pounds. For the Miss Britain 3, each horse was only pulling 2.4 pounds.
Okay.
So
you got a race.
He's got a race.
You got a race.
You got a race here. Yeah. So, but the idea of the smaller boat had been tried before in previous Harmsworth, but people didn't think that that was but it had failed every time because the race was like was a rugged race. You had to do like seven laps around like mile tracks. Yeah. It was a huge. It was endurance as much as anything. Yeah. And so those smaller boats had usually been beaten up and torn apart. And so, but his boat's made of metal.
Oh,
like, so this boat is like, I mean, it looks like the Monitor, for the the Monitor from the Civil War. I mean, it looks like it has like a turret on it. So it's just a metal. It's just like a metal tube. It's got like a rocket on the back.
All right.
So he's ready to make a run. I mean, this is an engineering genius with a boat that he builds, which has got more, less pounds per horse than Garwood's Miss America 10. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, so I'm going to read the quote of the race real quick. So this is actually a fairly short one.
Is this coming out of Speedboat Kings again?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is the last quote we got out of Speedboat Kings. We're going to be closing the book on J. Lee Barrett, but he will not be. I don't think he'll be forgotten.
We have had a good run.
Absolutely, J. Lee Barrett. Like, I mean, he's pushing as like top friggin' writer of this entire show. Is he not? I mean,
for sure.
That's what I'm saying. His book is just amazing. So this is the last. So we'll say farewell to J. Lee Barrett with this fairly short quote, but a good one, I think. So this is the 19th. This is a little summary of the 1933 Harmsworth Trophy race. So. At times, the English boat spurted at 110 miles an hour down the straightaway. Wood was sorely pressed in every lap, in every heat. If Wood and Johnson had any trouble with their boat at all, Scott Payne would have beaten them. But not at any time in either of the two heats did the daring red-headed Englishman have the lead. Wood's 4 powerful engines droned perfectly. His boat was leveling off and planing at just the correct angle. But even with that perfect performance, the English driver crowded him all the way, taking the buoys almost at top speed, driving a daring, reckless race and giving his tiny metal craft everything it had. The movie cameras showed that on the back stretch of the second lap, Miss Britain 3 went clear out of the water, but Scott Payne kept his throttles open regardless. He pounded his engine so hard that he had to have a new engine for the second heat. The 100,000 spectators at the race had never seen a greater demonstration of courage and expert boat handling as Scott Payne and his mechanic Gordon Thomas gave. They gave Wood the biggest scare he's ever had in these races. Many believe that if Scott Payne could have used the Rolls-Royce engines as he wanted to, the British International Trophy would today be under the custody of Royal Motor Yacht Club London instead of the Detroit Yacht Club Detroit. So that's the irony is he would have, it was at that last moment that if he had access to, J. Lee Barrett saying if he had access to those Rolls Royces,
that's the American guy saying,
he could have been a different story.
He might have had us. That was not a walk in the park.
Not at all. So he gave them their toughest race, and it's the last one that they would race. So So
at that point, the Harmsworth challenges just ceased, and then so there were no, because you would have to challenge, right? So Gar kept the trophy, and someone would have to challenge it for the trophy, and just no one ever challenged again.
No, well, see, that was like sort of my next couple notes here. So this was Gar Wood's 9th Harmsworth, and so he would be challenged, 3 more times, as far as I could find, anyways.
Okay.
And so again, that was the summer of 1933 when he raced that 9th Harmsworth. And so November 21st, 1934, he was challenged to a rematch by Hubert Scott Payne.
Yeah.
And so he was challenged to race in 1935. And so, but the Miss Britain 4 never made it across the Atlantic back to Detroit. So he challenged them for a 1935 race.
Didn't happen.
Never showed. He couldn't, just for whatever reason, he couldn't get there.
Who knows?
Right? Yeah.
Well, what year was it?
So that was November. So he was challenged on November 21st, 1934 for the following summer, 1935. So he would have been, so the challenge was issued when shortly after the Tigers had just finished the World Series.
Right.
The Lions were still playing football, in their inaugural season. That was when the challenge came over. So this is the challenge
is all
issued
in the middle of all.
It's all in the right dead center of it. Yeah. And so and if he would have raced, it would have been in the next following year, like in the, during the Tigers season, it would have been raced again. Yeah. And so he didn't race. And so, and then August 18th, 1935, shortly before the Tigers were about to go to the World Series, they were just finishing up the pennant.
Yeah.
And Lions were, I believe, just beginning August, September. I think they were just about to begin play. A guy named Maurice Vasseur, he's a French guy. So he issued a French challenge. So August 18th, 1935, another challenge comes out.
Right.
And he doesn't show up either. So there's 2 challenges. And so then shortly thereafter, just a couple weeks later, September 1st, 1935, Mussolini offers a $50,000 prize to anyone that could beat Gar Wood. And nothing ever materialized out of it. Those were the 3 things I could find regarding challenges. especially in 35. I mean, there might have been a couple other ones that I did, that I didn't see in 36 or 37 or something like this. So I don't want to say it was officially the last challenges.
Sure.
But those were the challenges that came across in 34, 35. But what's interesting is that in the papers, they mention rumors of Garwood building a Miss America 11.
Oh.
And so is it really any wonder why they're like, hey, I challenge you, right?
And
then he goes,
because the guy was one to take lessons and learn.
Yes.
So the 11 may not have been bigger, right?
He might have done a Hubert Scott Payne.
He might have taken, okay, we got these 2 engines running in tandem. How about we take, instead of 4, just 2 of them?
Yeah.
We can make the boat that much smaller, make it out of metal, and go crazy.
He could have done that.
Who knows what it was?
Or he could have strapped another, it had a 6-engine boat. Who knows? It had like a friggin' 15-ton,
first rocket
first
technology.
Rocket. Yeah, it not only can race to the river, but it can also go into space. You just got to put a little extra fin on the side.
And these guys not showing up. I mean, and what we've learned from these
would you show up
races,
would you show up when you hear rumors of a Miss America 11 being built?
Yeah.
You're like, dude, you're losing money. This is a waste of the guy wants you to challenge him.
Well, and the other thing is what we learned that because they build these boats and then they test these boats, and sometimes the tests don't go well.
No, they go terribly.
They may have built these boats and then tested them and just blew them up, and it's like, crap.
Yeah,
we have no boat to go race.
Yeah,
who knows? But it could be.
But I speculate
we don't want to show bad face.
Or Miss America, like they'd already Rolls-Royce, Wakefield.
Everybody giving up.
They'd already given up.
Yeah.
They're like, this is done, dude. You're
it's America,
baby.
Money.
Yeah, they're like,
don't mess with us.
This guy is insane. He's building a Miss America 11 now too. You really want to go waste your money in that?
You want to talk about made in Detroit?
Yeah, this is the ultimate.
Yeah.
So anyways,
rework that made Detroit logo with a boat
with Gar. That's what I'm saying. Like this guy should be front center.
There should be monuments to him.
There should. Well, I've got a photo. We've got a photo. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay. You're foreshadowing. You're foreshadowing. That's a lead in. Yeah. There is a so show him. Bring him up. Don't anybody that's watching. Don't.
So yeah, people that join us on Facebook and YouTube, they get to see some of the imagery that goes along with these. And up in Algonac, right? These are
a statue in Algonac. Yeah.
It's Chris Smith. From Chris Craft, who helped build the first
and that's
boats.
who we started out the story with, was the story of Chris Smith, and then we finished. Of course, he played a few. He was in it first, 4 or 5 episodes of this. It's Garwood section, but then of course in Garwood, and you can see him kind of in the 2 poses that they're, in the 2 outfits that they're kind of known for, which is the racer and the mechanic, the engineer. And so, but that's standing right out front of the Algonac Historical Museum.
Okay.
It's a great anybody that wants a cool little trip for a day. If you've never been to Algonac, go check out Algonac, especially in the summer. It's not the easiest town to get to. There's like kind of one road in and one road out,
but that makes it nice.
Yeah, and it's cool because when you drive in, there's like on either side of you for miles, especially if you've been listening to this show, on either side of you for miles, you see the they call them the flats. This thing, the St. Clair River flats, which are like, it's kind of like a kind of swamp, but and they got these long reed like grasses out there, and there's ducks all over it. And you see that's where Chris Smith was building his original duck decoys and building boats. They were skirting around out there. So when you're, like I say, with the right pair of eyes, you can see these people back in the day driving little boats out there.
Yeah.
And when the guy went out there duck hunting, when the original guy went out there duck hunting, and he's driving on that like lonely path out there, and he's looking left and right, you can imagine there's all these little boats putting around, and the guy going, why is there? I've seen one boat in the last like 6,000 miles, because the guy came from New York. I've seen like one boat anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I get out here in this little town in the middle of nowhere, and there's like 100 boats. He's like, what is going on here? And you can, so that's what I'm saying, Algonac's a great little town. You go out there.
That's where boats were born.
Yeah. You see the St. Clair Flats, and then as you get into town, it's kind of a small town, but it's got this beautiful wooden boardwalk. It's got this beautiful little park. And then the park it's integrated with the Algonac Historical Museum, and that statue that we showed there. And I think there's a couple other little, maritime statues there.
Sure.
And then what's awesome is in the summer, it's all like wooden Chris Craft boats still driving up and down the river. You don't see that anywhere else.
Right. Yeah.
That you have vintage 1930s, 20s, 30s, whatever, 40s wooden boats, little speed boats. They have all different types going up and down the river. It's just the coolest little. They have great little art shows there. I used to do the Algonac Art Show every year. It was cool. Like I'd be selling books, talking about Garwood, and then it was like wood boats, driving around behind me. It's just a cool. If you've never been, at least go there once and check it out. The museum's cool. It's kind of small, but they got some, it's a cool spot. And yeah, so it's totally worth the trip. And that is Garwood Graceland is probably the best way to put it. I used to tell people out there too, I'd be like, this is my Graceland. That's what you said. I used to tell them that because I love Garwood so much.
Oh yeah. No, there are some great little harbor towns.
Oh, it's cool. It's totally cool.
People listen wherever, however, we get too Detroit centric, but there are just some magnificent places to go and visit. I'm trying to find the one city. I can't remember. But up in the UP, there's a little Cedarville. There's a little town called Cedarville, and they have there's a boat building school. Okay, so Colleen and I were looking at a property over there, and so we drove up and we're spending the day driving around, and we're like, you go to Marina now and it's like fiberglass boats everywhere, and then it's like maybe one out of 50 or 100, so like a nice old wood one. Up in Cedarville, you got 200 boats and maybe one is fiberglass.
Okay, so it's like Algonac too, where there's all a ton of wood boats.
And they have a school that you can go and you can learn to build, and you build your own boat. Really? It's crazy. Somebody
else was telling me about another spot that had some wooden boats. So I don't want to say that Algonac is exclusively that, but that's just like
but Cedarville, it's another magnificent.
Like that too.
And it's like you're stepping in. It's stepping in time. Well, going to the UP is like stepping in time.
Yeah.
And then you get to this and these vintage boats. It's magnificent.
No, yeah. It's so I love when I see those big those old sail ships. The rigged boats. I love those. I used to see those up on Mackinac Island. Every once in a while, you see them cruise underneath the Blue Water Bridge and stuff. But I've got really one more quote I wanted to read. This is kind of like our wrap up quote. And it kind of like I did with Joe Louis, but I'm reading a quote from my own, but this is my own work. This is my sort of closure to Garwood in the book.
Okay.
And I was kind of thinking I was going to take a bunch of notes and kind of try to itemize. It's kind of like how I ended up with the Joe Louis. Like I thought I did I'm kind of proud of the work I did. I think I did a pretty good job. Yeah. And so it's kind of like I want to read my own quote because I probably spent when I wrote this, I probably spent a week writing it or something.
Dive on in, man.
And so it's kind of like,
why shred it apart and redo it here?
Well, that's what I'm saying because it's I put it together and it's So I'll read my own sort of quote as hopefully an homage. Hopefully I can be in this anywhere. I don't need if I could be even in the same galaxy.
Background jams while we do it.
No, I don't think so. All right. No, I'm good. So anyway, so this is my.
Sure, I got it right here. Tap. Here it is. A little feeding the duck. There we go. You want the little background? No? All right.
It's not bad, but it distracts me.
I know. I'm just messing.
The first couple times you had the music playing, I was like,
"What the hell is this?"
I was even making this throat slash. I was like, no sound back. So, anyways,
all right, here's wrapping up some couple thoughts on Gar.
Yeah. So this is actually my own words. So this is the final 3 or 4 paragraphs.
And by the way, people should pick up the trilogy of books, Detroit City of Champions, and then The Players 1, The Players 2.
Yeah, you can get them all on DetroitCityofChampions.com. You can always visit me at 12 Oaks Mall or Partridge Creek Mall. And 12 Oaks Mall is in Novi. I'm there like 5 days a week. Partridge Creek Mall is in Clinton Township. I'm there like 2 days a week.
Cityofchampions.com, and he will ship it worldwide.
But I do a lot of work in these stores because I have basically my own little store inside
all those
of the
Brits,
stores.
All those Brits licking their wounds.
What from what?
From
From Gar
kicking their butt.
That's
You'll send them the sad British story, the American victory. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So anyways, okay. So but I was just saying, like anybody that comes up to 12 Oaks, I'm there all the time. Come up and see it because you can get the books straight from me. I got my store is inside of a bigger store, and then I've got sort of a this deal where like I work in there and I can do my own work in there, and I just have to ring some pesky customers up every once in a while. But so I get to do my own work, and there's almost like a research grant, so it's kind of cool. But so anyways, this is my last couple paragraphs in this Garwood section. So What's that background sound?
It might be the.
Is it outside? Oh, that's the AC. Okay.
Crazy furnace.
I thought you were kicking with some kind of little like sort of white noise bass coming through.
No, that's a crazy.
So, anyways, all right. So my last little bit. So on April 16th, 1936, the Detroit Times announced that Gar Wood was flying in from Florida to be in attendance at the April 18th Champions Day banquet. Though he had not actually raced during the 1935-36 season, he was still in possession of the Harmsworth Trophy, and his exploits were so incredible that no one had even dared mount a legitimate challenge. When Gar Wood actually walked into the banquet, he was a star amongst stars and certainly worthy of his place on the City of Champions dais. But what had he actually accomplished? Gar Wood was to speedboat racing what Babe Ruth was to baseball. Powerful, dominant, dramatic, fun-loving, culture-changing, and iconic. Also like Ruth, Wood's exploits shifted the attention of the world towards his city, to the benefit of establishing Detroit, as one of the premier locations for his sport, an idea which has resonated to this very day. What must be understood with regards to his importance on Detroit sports history is that he picked up where Ty Cobb and the early Detroit Tigers had left off. From 1909 until 1934, the Tigers only challenged for the pennant once, in 1924, and there was a tremendous void of sports enthusiasm that was filled by the thrilling boat races on the Detroit River from 1917 to 1933. Not only did Wood continuously win the races, thus keeping them in Detroit year after year, he gave Detroit a new swagger on the international sporting stage. In short, Gar Wood was a remarkable figure who took the Motor City image of Detroit and blended it with sport to become one of the most famous men of his time. Though his streak of victories were incredible, his true success was in the creation of a powerful esprit de corps among his men, which allowed them to happily push engineering boundaries and continuously ride side by side with death. Gar Wood defined the very meaning of dominance in that he so overwhelmed his competition that the trophy itself ceased to be a sought-after prize. Not until long after he was too old to compete, 1949, did the races begin again, and the Harmsworth Trophy would remain in Detroit until 1959. Since that time, it has quietly changed hands only a few times across the world, and each person who has subsequently gripped its Philippine mahogany base carved from the first Miss America should consider themselves fortunate for not having been born in an earlier era, for they would have had to face the gray fox of the Algonac, Garfield Arthur Wood.
There you go.
So that's my little. Hopefully, I do a little justice to him.
I think we did. We there was one picture I didn't bring up because you were talking about him appearing at the banquet, and I had brought that up while you were talking about that.
Yeah. So there's two banquet photos. There's this one. That's what I love about this picture is if you look close at it.
Yeah. If people are.
This is out of the book.
Audio. It's always they're in the book, which you should go buy.
So what is
and or check out the video.
It's a picture of Mickey Cochran sitting at a dinner table, and it's got a big tiger tapestry on the wall behind him.
Right.
And every time you see that tapestry on the wall, that's a Detroit Tigers 1935 championship dinner.
Okay.
So every once in a while you see a photo, like just some random photo, like on eBay or whatever like this, and you'll see a picture of that tiger on the wall. That was from their 35 championship celebration.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So this photo, this was a rotogravure out of a newspaper. The rotogravures only came out of Sunday editions. They were like the best, like the most like incredible photos ever taken.
Okay.
Just the highest quality of printing known to man, like still to this day.
Yeah,
well, still to this day, they inscribe the photos. It's the highest quality of photo like that you can print. Okay. Because it's got like the when you see it, like this is a replica, and I took a shot out of my own book. But the original photos in the newspapers are they're just the most beautiful photos. Their depth of it is like just amazing.
Okay.
And so anyways, so this is a rotogravure from a Sunday edition, and it shows Mickey Cochran sitting at a dinner table, and Gar Wood is there at the 1935 Tigers championship celebration. This is a think about that. This is a 1935 Tigers celebration banquet.
And
how do you score a ticket to that invite?
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's not like 1 million people going to that thing. I mean, that's a closed group, right? I mean, so there's probably a few fans there and some big wigs from the team and stuff. But Gar Wood's there, but if the great thing is if you look at Mickey Cochran's face, he's got kind of a look on his face where he's like,
oh my God.
I'm
talking to Gar Wood.
I'm talking to Gar Wood.
Yeah.
And it's Mickey Cochran. Yeah. He's the greatest, one of the greatest baseball players that ever lived.
Right.
He's like, oh my God, what do I say to him? Like he's like actually kind of going, he's kind of starstruck looking at Gar,
Yeah.
So that's why I love that photo. And he's, Gar's wearing a tux. He's got this shock of white hair. So that's a great photo. And it's in my book too. If anybody wants to see it, get the books if you can't see it.
That is, it's So just if you listen to the audio podcast, sometimes it's worth a peek to take a look at some of these images. You don't have to see our ugly mugs.
Yeah, you can skip that part.
Like when we were sitting there with the Miss America, that was worth a peek.
Mm-hmm.
And then like this one today.
So there's another banquet photo too. The other banquet photo is there's another one, and this is from Champions Day. We read in the in my quote there, Garwood was invited to Champions Day, and Garwood was certainly at Champions Day. And so
he's honored on that Champions Day plaque.
Totally. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's there's only a handful of engravings, and one of them is a speedboat, and he's on there. And so, there's Garwood. He's the top photo. He's shaking hands with Harry Kipke, and Harry Kipke was the football coach for U of M. So he was like the Jim Harbaugh, coach of U of M in his day. He was a very incredibly famous guy in his day. And he's shaking hands, and he's got the same look on his face as Mickey Cochran. He can't believe he's talking to Garwood. And the greatest thing is you might have to look. This photo is actually out of my first book,
right? And
you might have to look a little bit. It might be kind of tough on the screen to see, but if you look in the upper right hand corner, if you see the guy that's like sort of photo bombing, if you see the guy who's photo bombing, the guy is geeked, dude. The guy is geeked.
Oh my God, yeah.
Look at his face.
It's Garwood.
It's like, oh my God, I'm in a picture with Garwood. And then could you imagine that guy? I have no idea who it is. I don't think he's anybody like super.
Okay.
Because Champions Day there was 800 fans.
Sure, yeah.
There's 800 fans there, and you could buy tickets just from the local dime store to get into Champions Day. It was 800 fans. In fact, the newspaper I got is from a guy. I told the story of the newspaper in the first like 3 episodes of the show.
Yeah.
But the guy, Joseph Dewey went into this party, and his grandson gave me this newspaper.
Wow.
So anyway, like anybody could go if he bought a ticket. So I mean, this is, this guy is.
I love the photo bomb. Yeah.
But can you imagine when this newspaper came out in the Detroit Times?
It's like, oh my God.
And this guy's like, I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm in it. There's Garwood. I got a photo with Garwood. The guy's got to be thrilled, So he's and the great thing is this isn't like a digital camera. This is a random, there's like a photographer taking a shot, and this guy knows that he's in the angle, in the shot, and he is thrilled. He's total photo bomb. So I love it. And then there's another one at the bottom. There's another Garwood's got like a bite of food in his mouth,
Yeah.
And he's sitting next to Joe Carr, who's the NFL. He's the president of the NFL, and he's also sitting next to who's the other guy? I got his name in the bottom text. Who do we got there? I forgot.
I don't know. I can't see.
You can just read the text. Read the text here. It says
crappy eyesight. Albert Dole.
Oh, Albert Dale. He's the sports. He's the main editor for the Detroit Times.
All right,
that's right, Alfred Dale. Yeah,
my laptop.
I forgot.
My laptop in front of me pooped out. So it's
because there's a bunch of other pictures too. Because when I took this picture out of my book, I just put it in for this slide. There's a ton of other pictures where there's tons. Like there's like Schoolboy Road, El Knocker shaking hands with all these different dignitaries and stuff. So I forgot that it was Alfred Dale he's sitting next to. Yeah. But I mean, that's like, there's, if you look at the other photos, there's like Garwood sitting next to Potsy Clark, and there's all kinds of, like, they're all famous that sit at these tables. I mean, this is a galaxy of stars at this party. And the way I wrote the screenplay was like, when Garwood comes in, that's everybody's like, oh my God, it's Garwood. Like he's here, like they all show like, that respect to him.
Now, my favorite photo bombing photo is we're at there's a restaurant right near here over in Berkeley on 12 in Coolidge, O'Mara's. And I went to high school with Kevin O'Mara that owns it. His sister Shannon was my grade. Kevin was 2 years older, my sister's grade. Anyway, but I've known Kevin forever and a day. But he's got the restaurant, and they'll do like comedians and then like, smaller national acts. And there's a band called Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And lead singer Glenn Phillips. And so he was doing like a little acoustic tour on his own, just Glenn on his own. So he's playing O'Mara's. And so we go, and I'm there with another couple. Colleen's with me, and Jennifer and Spencer. And we're just out, the four of us, having fun seeing Glenn, because Jennifer and Spencer love him too. And Colleen's like, whatever, for dinner and music. She loves it. So we're there and we're taking pictures, just the four of us, taking pictures of ourselves the way, people do. And so when somebody was like, oh, well, let's take a picture of you, like, okay. So they're taking a picture of us, and Glenn was behind us with Kevin before the show. And so just like that guy in that picture, I got a picture of Glenn Phillips photobombing us, looking like awesome. That guy in that picture.
That's awesome.
And it was funny because we were there to see him, and he was like photobombing. He's very, very cool.
That's cool.
And that's like a 300 person shoulder to shoulder intimate venue. It was cool to see him there. Anyway, so the photobomb story. Yeah. That's great. So just this Garwood story though.
It's amazing. And so really like the last thing I wanted to say about it, which is like I named this episode the pursuit of excellence,
right?
Because that's a term you hear the word excellent, you hear excellence or whatever, even maybe when you hear the word excellent or excellence, you hear you think of like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, like
sure,
whatever, right? But there's a book, and if anybody, somebody recommended me this book a long time ago. It's called The Greek Way, and it's written by a lady named Edith.
12.
It's written by a lady named Edith Hamilton, and there's another. She wrote another book. She wrote many books, but there's the Greek Way and the Roman Way. And if like anybody that's a historian or anybody's looking for a book to read, it's almost like
you pay a lot more for that.
What's that?
Never mind. Go ahead.
Oh, I get you.
I'm 12. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Yeah.
12. Go ahead.
So, anyways, they're two like foundational type books that like they should make them required reading, not necessarily for high school, but for college. Like they are this. I mean, we have like a tradition, like Western civilization has a tradition that goes back to the Romans and Greeks. And Greek Way and Roman Way are just absolutely like foundational type books. It just can take them from me. If it's recommended reading for either book. But one of the things that Edith Hamilton talks about in the Greek Way, which really is a lesson that you cannot help but just be immersed with when you read this book, is this phrase, the pursuit of excellence. Okay, and it's this idea that it's this idea that a person spends their life in pursuit of like their ideal version of themselves. In that ideal version of themselves, like like what they're capable of, like the highest level of what they're capable of. And it involves everything. It involves the mind, it involves the body, like physically, like trying to get in the best physical shape, trying to get in the best mental shape, trying to be like, when you make mistakes or, you're learning from your lessons, you set goals, you reach out for those goals, you put everything you have to reach your goals. You become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the greatest athlete or the greatest, but just achieving the best version of yourself.
Right.
And it was a concept in ancient Greece. It was a concept in ancient Greece, and there's actually a term. It's called arete, and it's this, like I say, it's this idea that the Greeks created, and it's called the pursuit of excellence. Whether you ever necessarily reach the final version of the best version of who you are is not really the important thing. It's kind of the pursuit of it,
sure,
and that you make your life about like trying to become the best version of yourself that you can be. And that's why I named this article, is because if anybody can if you can apply that concept to anybody, it would be Garwood. Because this guy, like in every single, like, I don't know everything about his personal life. I don't know if he's trying to be, if that was what the mantra that he necessarily followed, but at least in the world where it came to like business, where he, maxed out, he was like the richest, thing. But it's in particular with this sport that he clearly loved.
Right.
That there is nobody. I mean, this is a guy that, and not just him, but, like Seagrave and Kadon and like all these different people that form this fabric, Chris Smith and all these people that form the fabric of this incredible tapestry of a story. Like, this is like the pursuit of excellence is almost like if you were to make a tapestry of it all, like that would be its signature phrase in the middle. Like they all were in pursuit
of excellence.
And Garwood, especially, like, just epitomize it. Like, I mean, especially when he was in pursuit of competition.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't happy. Like he wanted to compete. And even when the competitors failed, he was letting them look at his boat and see how they could improve because he wanted to race and be head to head and thrill. You know, you think that he minded racing against Hubert Scott Payne in a tight race? That was probably the best moment of his life. He was always trying to, he wanted to he didn't want to just win for the sake of getting some trophy. That I don't think the trophy was particularly that important. It was the fact that he was like competing and pursuing and, you know, leveling up his boats, and the men were like, and that's really the story too. It's not even about the races themselves. Like if you look back and see that the amount of time we actually spend on the actual races is minuscule compared to the way that the engineering and the teamwork and all the, I mean, think about the
working and reworking and deadlines and
you know, soldering a benzol gas gas tank while it's full of benzol, and they're soldering it and they're pulling guys out when they're passing out. I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like every one of it wasn't just necessarily Garwood, but I think that he epitomized this generation of, you know, boat builders and designers in the sport and the evolution of speed on water and all that. Like he was the guy, like he's the reason why we dive back into this era, into this story. He's like the sort of, you know, he is, you know, it's a dark world that's never really had light shed on it. And he is that flicker of light that you notice that makes you go, what's that? And you know, what's that? What's in the darkness? I want to see more of this. Looks kind of cool. And once you go into it, that's when you meet Seagrave in Wakefield and all of the, you know, and the Carstairs, you know, all these different,
putting it all on the line.
And you see them all. You see this whole story of all these people and how they were all trying to do that. You know, they were all trying to do that. And so it's just, that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's where I think that's where you find is the Garwood himself is an incredible story. But when you put all these people together around them and how it all connects in, it's just one of the best stories ever told, in my opinion. And it's in the pursuit of excellence. That's why I wanted to name this last episode. That's why I chose that title.
I use that in my classroom today in a slightly different way. Cause I told you it's my senior's last day and they're wrapping up a couple of projects and they're trying to finish something. And they're like, oh, I'm almost done with this. I'm going to, and it's like, is this good enough? And I'm like, no. You know, no, we got time. Let's fix this. Let's do this. I'm like, good enough never is.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's like let's do it. You know, I mean, let's try to be as excellent as we can. Let's strive.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Excellence. Like good enough never is. You know,
that's what I'm saying. Like it's one of, like I have this quote on my wall in my bathroom and it's called The Man in the Mirror. And it's like, it says the general, I forgot, you know, even I read it like every day, I can't quote every line of it for some reason, but
it's a Michael Jackson song, right?
Well, no, the man in the no, it's not
different.
No. Yeah, totally.
You got some Jackson lyrics up on your wall?
No. But
you sure?
No, I'm totally positive that's not it because maybe Michael Jackson should have had this picture, this quote there, because the quote there itself is fantastic. Because the idea is that it's kind of like the idea of like, to thine own self be true. Like you might be the richest, most famous, most powerful person in the world. Every girl might love you. You might walk down everywhere around. Everybody's telling you how great you are and all this, but none of it matters except for when you look yourself in the mirror and you say who you are. If you are happy with you, if you are satisfied with what you've become, and that's the idea is like I think that's like the, you know, the same kind of heartbeat as that pursuit of excellence, which is that, you know, are you on the path of improving, like becoming the best version of who you are? And that's and like as far as your class goes, you know, kids are kids or whatever like this, they're learning or whatever. But what I'm saying is it's the idea that each of us it's incumbent upon ourselves to try to become the best version of ourselves that we can be. If not, then don't, whatever. I'm trying to become the best version of myself. I am. Other people, if you don't want to do that, then you want to sit around and just become the laziest, dumbest version of yourself, then do that.
That's the other thing I tell them
too. There's plenty of people that choose that option too.
I tell them that too. It's like, you don't have to be the best. You have to try your best.
Yeah, exactly. Be the best.
I want your best from you. It may not be the best, but I want your best.
Yeah.
If you give me your best effort, I love it.
Yeah, well,
and that's all I ask for. Is just try your absolute best.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like to our own selves that we have to be accountable to, you know,
and that's they won't do it for themselves.
Yeah, so
they're baby birds.
Well, exactly. I wouldn't hold. Yeah, I wouldn't hold them too much. Like when I was in high school, I was a shithead. Dude. No, I wasn't. You know, that's what I mean. Like it wasn't even until after I got out of high school I started taking, you know, trying to level up a little bit, you know, but that's the idea is that I think that if, you know, that summary, like if there's ever like a movie, if we ever, you know, when we get a movie out about Garwood and all this whole thing, like I want that to be like the title of an episode, like, because I think that it really summarizes who this guy was and who this era of people that, like J. Lee Barrett.
Right.
J. Lee Barrett, you know what I mean? Like this guy, this is one of the best, you know, like this guy was just an incredible figure and one of the best writers, you know? So anyways, yeah, I just wanted to give a little note on that. Cause I love the book, The Greek Way and Roman Way. And somebody, and a very dear friend of mine who's since passed, recommended those books to me a long time ago. And it was like, he's like, you ever read The Greek Way by Edith Hamilton? I was like, he's like, The Greek Way of the Roman. I was like, no, I never even heard of him. And he was like, read them.
Maybe a poster. The Greek way is the only way. I'll put that up in my classroom.
I don't know about that.
No, that probably wouldn't play
because there's different. there's different components.
I'm 12.
I get 12. I get you.
I go lowest common denominator.
And I take things literally. So, but there's the Greek way, but they're totally different, which is fascinating. The Greek way and the Romans learned from the Greeks, but the Romans were totally different. Where the Greeks were about like trying to understand who they were and exploring like what art was and comedy. They were like inventing comedy and all these different things. And the Romans like took that from them. But the Romans were like, okay, now that the Greeks figured out we can just be the most practical people on earth and just build. We want our art to be functional and strong. Like their art was like architecture and like road design, like city planning and road design and like functional. You know, that's like their artwork was actually like municipal development. You know, like the Romans were a totally different breed of human beings. So as I'm saying, that's what's so cool though, is that they borrowed from the Greek way, but they're like, well, the Greeks already figured it out. What do we got to think about? You know, we don't got to do philosophy. They already figured it out for us. You know, let's just copy their thing and then, you know, do our thing, you know, on the side, you know? So they're recommended books if you ever get a chance.
We're going to pull up the anchor on that, and we're going to pull up the anchor on Garwood and sail along. And I just, I'm satisfied with.
I think we did justice to him.
I'm satisfied with the Garwood story.
I am too.
Appreciate it. So thank everybody. I hope you're satisfied. If you've been listening along and enjoying this, we truly appreciate everybody who takes the time and shares time with us as we roll through these stories. Do those podcast things in those podcast places, like, subscribe,
share,
leave a comment.
Leave a comment. It all helps us, man. That really does help.
Friends.
Yeah.
Podcast yourvoice.com is the website, and then Detroit City of Champions is a website.
Yeah, share, try to get a friend. That'd be great because our numbers are starting to grow a little bit. And like every we had
a big listenership week last week.
No, we did. It's just been starting to pump up a little bit, and we know that it takes time to get it going. And
thank you.
But once we start to grow, it starts to exponentially grow.
My mom told all her bridge buddies. So
that's great. I passed.
She doesn't play bridge.
Well, I pass flyers out at our store all the time, so hopefully got a couple of viewers from the store listening in. And but I think we were talking about a little bit and talking about how at some point in the future we may expand out to doing just like some a little bit more general Detroit sports history, some cool stories.
But we got a lot more 1935
we got a ton
to go.
more. We got a ton more to go with this. Yeah,
all right. Once again,
by no means exhausted.
Thanks for being with us, and we'll do it again next. We're gonna stick it to the ground next time. A little golf.
Put it on the tee.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Detroit City of Champions. It's a podcast.